Hi friends. So in this video we are going to do some post-match analysis of the semi-final that happened today between Djokovic and Zverev. It was an amazing match. It lasted more than 3.5 hours. It was a five-setter. A lot of twists and turns in the match where one player had momentum, then the other one had momentum. And I think Djokovic was the better player in the end. He was able to manage his nerves better, stay with Zverev because Zverev's baseline game was perfect, almost perfect, and his first serve was also good. So a great match, and let's first look at the stats. So if you see the stats, it's almost quite equal if you compare. So more aces that one would expect with Zverev. He has more pace on his serve as well, but more double faults. As we all know, he struggles with his second serve, and that was evident a lot of times in this match. When you talk about the first serve percentage, and I had mentioned that in the pre-match, review, that the first serve percentage has to be key for both the players. And you can see here, Djokovic has slightly more percentage, 66%, and wins on the first serve are also slightly better for Djokovic. But it's also the timing. If you see the match, you will see that most of the times when Djokovic was facing a break point, he was able to serve big and get his way out of the trouble. If you see the break point conversions or break point saved, you can see that Djokovic was able to save almost 75% of his break points. Now that is a huge number. That just means that whenever he faced a break point, he had a good serve and then he was able to finish the point as well. If you see the win on second serve, you would see that Zverev was able to win 50% of the points, which is better than Djokovic because I don't know if you would believe it or not, but Zverev was dominating the points from the baseline. When I say dominating points from the baseline, it does not mean just one thing, it's an overall aspect. So if you see Zverev's shots from the baseline, he was comfortable in rallying with Djokovic, and when the rally got bigger, like 5 or 6 shots, after 5 or 6 shots, Zverev was able to generate more power on his shots, whether it was a forehand or a backhand, and he was able to pull Djokovic out of the court and then finish off with a winner. Whereas Djokovic realized that in the end, and that is why if you see the second set and onwards, Djokovic was able to make adjustments. He was using his slice more in between the rallies. He was going for more drop shots, and he was trying to do something different. He was also trying to come for serve and volley a lot of times just to give a different look to Zverev and just trying to see if it works, and it did work some of the times, and it really, I think that's the way Djokovic should play against Zverev, and we'll discuss that in another slide. But if you see the stats, I think winners and forced errors, both players, Zverev hitting more winners, but then Djokovic was also not too far behind. And if you see the total points won, not a lot of difference, so very close match. And I think the main factor, if you ask me what was the main factor in the stats, I would say the first serve of Djokovic, when it really mattered, he was able to save those break points. And then in the fifth set, I think for 4 sets the match was equally poised, but in the fifth set, Zverev's nerves got to him in the end because he didn't start off well. He hit a few double faults, he hit a few unforced errors. It looked like he was nervous. He reduced the pace on his shots a little bit, and Djokovic, as soon as Djokovic understood that the other player on the court is nervous, he was starting to feel more confident, just like he does with Federer a lot of times. Federer is winning the match and Djokovic suddenly realizes that Federer is under pressure, or maybe he's nervous, and then Djokovic comes back into the match and then wins it. That's what happened. So in the fifth set, Djokovic was a 5 love as a result of that, but then Zverev did come back, did break once, but he got broken again, and Djokovic was able to finish the match. So these were the match stats. Let's also look at some of the important factors. So if we see the key factors, as I was mentioning, Zverev's baseline game was better than Djokovic. And when I say baseline game, it is purely the forehand and the backhand. If you talk about variety, of course, Djokovic has more variety. So definitely, but Djokovic was not using that variety a lot in the first set. After that, he started using it. And Zverev's baseline game was, I think it was constant throughout, except the fifth set where he got nervous. Now Djokovic uses variety to gain advantage. So I've already mentioned it. Zverev's nerves provided the initial momentum to Djokovic in the fifth set because anything could have happened in the fifth set if it would have stayed close, like 2-all, 3-all, 4-all. But then it started off well for Djokovic because Zverev was feeling nervous and he was not able to, maintain his momentum in the first 2 or 3 games, and that really provided Djokovic with an initial break. And then Djokovic was, up for it. Still, I think it's the best performance by Zverev at the US Open so far. I know that he has already reached the finals. He lost to Thiem, but in that match, both the players were, facing or making a lot of unforced errors. They were just hoping for the other player to miss. If you see the match between Zverev and Thiem, but in this match, it was opposite. Both the players were hitting a lot of good shots, going for winners. That is why, as a result, they have hit more than 40 winners each, and they were. It was a high quality match, very well played match, and just the few points in the end decided that it would go in the favor of Djokovic, as it happens a lot of times. The first serve percentage was healthy for Djokovic, and as I mentioned, the most important point was that Djokovic was able to save more than 75% of breakpoints he faced, and that was decisive. So let's look at the few top points to just give you a sense of how the match progressed, what was the nature of the rallies that happened. So let's look at the 2 points. So both these guys, as you can see, are pretty good from the baseline. Djokovic stays a little more far back. Right now, it seems like Zverev is back, but you can see keeps on changing. Most of the rallies were from backhand to backhand between these two guys, but they also were not afraid of changing the direction. Amazing play at the net by Djokovic. See that again. So you can see how Djokovic is able to, counter, but Zverev is equally good. Even though Zverev's forehand is not that good, but okay. Now let's look at one more point. I think this was the point where it lasted almost 53 or 54 shots, and Zverev was able to win that in the end. And this was a very important point. Zverev was facing 3 set points. He managed to save 2 of those, but he was not able to save the third one. But this is the second of those set points, and you can see how well Zverev played to save this. Now I still feel that Djokovic should have been more aggressive, because if you see this rally, you will find that there were a few shots, few points where Djokovic could have, played aggressive. Like this is a good shot from Djokovic, uses the slice, very well done. And now see, he has a chance and he hits a good shot, but then he does not carry it forward. Backhand to backhand rally. Now again this shot. Again this shot. You can see Djokovic had chances to be aggressive, but he's not being that aggressive. And Zverev gets one chance, and you can see he goes for the win. So you can see that Djokovic was a little bit reluctant to go for winners, but Zverev was not, and that is why Zverev was able to make more winners when he had the chances. Because you can see now the point is a set point, mind you. So it's all the pressure is on Zverev. He is facing 3 set points. So Djokovic should be the one who should try to go for the winners, but he was not going for the winner, and in the end, Zverev was able to win the point. So that is why I think that in such points where you know that the opponent is already under pressure and you have multiple set points, I think Djokovic should have played more aggressive, but doesn't matter. He won the next point and was able to win the set in the end. Now, this is the analysis that I wanted to, explain to you. So if you see the position, the court position, you can see Djokovic is a bit far behind the baseline, whereas Zverev you can see is on the baseline. Now, when I talk about baseline game, I want to cover the basic aspect, which is the topspin forehand and the topspin backhand. If you compare Zverev and Djokovic in this match, I think Zverev was better on that front. He was able to play well from the baseline, generate more power, hit more winners, and I think that is going to be the case always when Zverev is playing well. If Zverev is not playing well, or let's say if Djokovic is not playing well, still I think Djokovic is going to get through the matches with his rally game because his natural ability to rally is better than Zverev. But when Zverev is playing well, similar on the likes, if you compare with Songa or let's say Soderling or any player, who is good from the baseline when he's playing well, then I think it's important for Djokovic to try something different, and that is why I've mentioned in the yellow lines. If you see, I'm trying to display that he could have used more direction changing slice, slow and low slice, so that he just changes the rhythm of the rally a little bit, because Zverev is not afraid to hit the backhand down the line. He has a very, very good backhand down the line, and it's aggressive. The opponent does not have much chances to defend against that. So Djokovic could avoid that if he used a little bit more variety. I'm not saying that he did not use variety. He used a slice in every rally, almost every rally. But I think changing direction with the slice, or maybe hitting the slice more, at a low pace, so that it could trouble Zverev, would have been a better option. But anyhow, I think Djokovic was able to win. But if you rally with Zverev when he's playing well, and if you are not changing the direction, if you are not putting in variety, I think Zverev is going to win the match. So that is very important takeaway. If I am Djokovic, that if I want to play against Zverev or the likes of Songa, you understand when you start the match, it's one set or two sets. You understand that the opponent, what level is he playing at? Is he playing well from the baseline or not? And then probably you could adjust. And one example I would like to give here is of Federer. Now Federer has been able to beat Zverev a few times. How? If you see Federer's age right now, he's almost 40 years old. So definitely Zverev is better than him from the baseline at this stage. But still Federer has been able to beat Zverev a few times. How? Because he knows that he needs to change the pattern of play, and he does not want to play from the baseline. That is why he serves aggressively. He plays at the net more. He tries to bring Zverev to the net because Zverev is not that comfortable at the net, and maybe attack more on the second serve of Zverev so that the rallies can be avoided, or use more slice. And Federer has the best variety as you if you talk about slices. So I think that is where Djokovic needs a little bit of strategic planning, I would say. But doesn't matter, he was still able to win the match. And I think that was the whole analysis that I wanted to show you. So I think it was a great match, and now Djokovic is going to play against Medvedev in the final. Now Medvedev has been cruising throughout the tournament. One could say that he hasn't faced a top player, and maybe that's why he has found it a bit easier as compared to Djokovic and Zverev. But still, he's fresh and he's in the finals, and we know that how good court craft Medvedev has, what a good serve he has. So definitely it won't be easy for Djokovic, and Djokovic has already played him this year at the Australian Open final, and the first set was really close. After that, Djokovic was able to run away with that match. Djokovic would be hoping that a similar result, if he could get it, it would mean 21st Grand Slam win for Djokovic. So let's see what happens, and thanks for watching.